Hello everyone, it is your host Seth the Programmer, and today we're going to be doing a heavily requested topic. That topic was, can Yamcha or Krillin destroy a planet? And now, I know what you guys are thinking, what? Can Yamcha or Krillin destroy a planet? But a lot of you guys were asking about this, so today we are actually going to be getting into it. Guys, if you do enjoy my content, be sure to actually subscribe. I know a lot of you guys watch my stuff without subscribing, but if you do enjoy what I do, and you do enjoy my calculations, be sure to hit that subscribe button, man. I'd really appreciate it. So before we start, I might as well go over what Yamcha and Krillin have done, really. We're going to be going over numerous points in the series, and then we'll be going over Dragon Ball Super at the end, per se. But in the beginning, you have Yamcha started out as like this rival to Goku. Like, he was a formidable foe. He was basically the second strongest guy in the series for a while, right? Only Goku could really beat him. And then you had Krillin, who was Goku's rival. In the tournament, they had like pitched fights with each other. And then they trained with God, like, who was literally God. They trained with Kami, the guardian of Earth, to fight the Saiyans. Now, what a lot of people don't understand about this training is that Yamcha and Krillin both became stronger than Goku when Goku fought Raditz. Now, this Goku that fought Raditz was comparable to Piccolo, the same Piccolo who could obliterate the moon almost casually. Like, he just like threw his hand out instantly and just obliterated the fucking moon. And a lot of people call it an outlier. They say, oh, Piccolo destroying the moon was an outlier or whatever, right? But what they don't understand is that it was stated that Goku, when in his fight with Piccolo previously in their tournament, is that Goku was stated to actually be a moonbuster in the Daizenshu guide. So Goku was stated to be a moonbuster during his fight with Piccolo, and then you have Piccolo 5 years later with a special beam cannon training or whatever the fuck, and he just casually obliterates the moon. So it's not really an outlier, and it's also not an outlier because we see, Vegeta and all of them are stated to be able to obliterate and annihilate planets. So, I mean, logically, you just go from moon level to planet level from the arc to arc, right? So it's not really an outlier. I could see you saying maybe Master Roshi obliterating the moon is kind of an outlier. I mean, that makes sense because literally the only feat before that was him destroying like a mountain. So mountain to moon level, that's a pretty big jump, and I could see why you could say it's an outlier. But Goku and Piccolo being an outlier, no. It's just not logical, especially with the Saiyan arc coming up, right after that, and then blowing up planets. Now, this scales to Yamcha, because if Piccolo tried to blast Yamcha like that, he would tank it like Raditz. It's actually specifically stated that Yamcha is stronger than, the Saibamen, who are Raditz level. I know what you're thinking. There's no way that the Saibamen can destroy moons. And, maybe they can, maybe they can't, but they can take moon-level attacks. And I know this is pretty new to some people. They're like, what? Moon-level Saibamen? What are you talking about? And the thing you need to remember is that Piccolo tried to use that moon-level attack, the same blast he obliterated the moon with, on Raditz, and it didn't do anything. Raditz was like, oh, I think you singed some of my leg hair with that one. So the Saibamen are then stated to be on Raditz level. And then you have Yamcha completely punk one of them out. Like, Raditz, well, Nappa's like, holy shit, that's as strong as Raditz, and this Earthling just fucking destroyed him, right? And Yamcha was only not so confident. Like, Krillin was like, okay, let me take the next one. Like, Yamcha's like, no, stand back. Let me take on all the Saibamen. This is due to him, having like a premonition about Krillin being killed by a Saibaman, which did come true. So basically, the Saibaman was like, okay, if I lose to this guy, Vegeta's just gonna kill me. So the Saibaman decided to self-destruct and kill Yamcha after getting his ass beat. So basically, Yamcha was beaten by a self-destructing Saibaman. And if we know anything about self-destructing in Dragon Ball, is that it brings you way beyond your normal limitations as a fighter. Like, an example, you have Chaozu self-destructing on Nappa. Everyone's like, oh, wow, that was really powerful. That should have taken Nappa out. So clearly, Chaozu, who's fodder, being amped to a level that can possibly hurt Nappa is a big jump. You also have, Majin Vegeta self-destructing, which completely amped his abilities far beyond what they normally were at the exchange of his life. That's what self-destructing is. So a Saibaman beating someone that's stronger than him slightly by self-destructing does make sense for what it's worth. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Where are you going with this? Well, the point you need to realize is that Yamcha is stronger than Piccolo, who obliterated the moon, okay? I'm just trying to bring up the fact that him losing to a Saibaman isn't that big of a deal, per se. So he is stronger than Piccolo, who blew up the moon. Now, people overlook this moon feat for numerous reasons, but I'm going to go into more detail about it right now. To destroy a planet, you need to go beyond its gravitational pull, because if you just split it down the middle or put it into chunks, it's just going to slam all back together again. I mean, you could kill all life, but you're not destroying the planet itself. So, Piccolo, he didn't vaporize, he annihilated the moon into non-existence. And the thing about that is he didn't just blow up the moon. He obliterated it. Now, my friend Super Saiyan Ryu gave me a good example on this. If you take a piece of dynamite and you put it next to a boulder, okay, that dynamite will blow up the boulder. But how much dynamite would you need to completely annihilate that boulder so it doesn't even exist anymore? You'd have to cover it by numerous times. Like, you'd have to cover every inch of that boulder in dynamite for it to be completely annihilated. If you just put one piece of dynamite, sure, it'll blow up into whatever pieces, but it's not going to disappear. Piccolo completely made the moon vanish. It was gone. It didn't even exist anymore. So it was far beyond just a moon level attack, and a lot of people don't realize that. So basically, force, or destructive output, is really based on mass times acceleration, and we don't know the exact mass of an attack, but the attack that blew up the moon, okay, that Piccolo shot, even if you lowballed it to say, let's say, like, it took him a whole minute or fucking 5 minutes or an hour almost, the attack would still have to exert at least around 200 or 300 exatons of force, which is moon level. But that's if you lowballed it to say it took like a minute up to an hour. If you said that Piccolo's attack hit it at what it did, which is about in 2 seconds, which is almost light speed, then the attack would be far exponentially greater, possibly tens of dozens of times greater. And what it takes to destroy a moon is, of course, 200, 300 exotons. Actually, it's 29 exotons if you look at the Versus Wiki. But to destroy a small planet would take over 433 exotons. And if you say that it's only 295 exotons for, say, for it to hit the moon in 1 minute, if you multiply the acceleration of that attack by like 30 fucking times, you're going to get a shit ton more force, and you're going to get over 433 exotons of force, which is small planet. Meaning, Piccolo, if you shot that attack at, say, a smaller planet like Mercury at the speed of light, it would have actually obliterated a smaller planet like Mercury, and not just the moon. Because the moon, remember, the moon isn't the pinnacles of their power, because the moon got completely annihilated. It didn't even exist. He didn't just destroy it. It was gone. It was disappeared. So a smaller planet like Mercury would have actually been destroyed if that same attack did hit, which means that, yes, Yamcha and both Krillin fodderizing Saibamen and taking attacks from them, who are both far superior to that Piccolo, would in fact be planetary, although small planetary. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. A lot of you guys, when I did the whole heat calculations, when I was like, oh, well, the emissivity of this Big Mac is like 0.23, and because of that, Goku can take the course heat, and you guys are like, what are you talking about? So I thought I'd give you a more simplified explanation. So if we use power levels are bullshit, but if we use power levels, okay, it's stated that around Namek, that after getting his potential unleashed, that Krillin's power level is about 13,000. And if you look at guides like the legendary Dragonball guides, it states that a power level of around 10,000 to blow up planets, which actually makes sense when you look at characters like King Vegeta and Vegeta himself, who are around 10,000 through 20,000, and they can destroy planets. Which means that Krillin, by Dragon Ball standards, can destroy a planet by at least Namek after getting his potential unlocked. So I understand that the power level argument kind of adds some confusion, because it's like, wait a minute, didn't you just say the Saibamen are possibly small planet level, and then didn't you just say that a power level of 10,000 is needed to destroy a planet? Wait, what? I understand where you guys are going to come from with that one, but let me explain. Okay, so it said a normal planet requires a power level of 10,000, but Mercury is not a normal planet. Mercury is a small planet, and in fact, in Dragon Ball, Earth is a small planet. So when they say 10,000 is needed for a normal planet, that can mean Jupiter, Saturn, any normally expansively large gas planet like Uranus or whatever, but Earth is a tiny planet, and so is Mercury. Those are just small planets, so no, the 10,000 argument does not apply to smaller planets. And we also know that Yamcha in the anime, which the anime was made canon by Dragon Ball Super due to, Bubbles and Gregory, who are anime exclusives, being in that show, the Yamcha can foderize Raccoon, the same Raccoon that could take planet-level attacks from Vegeta and stand in one spot, still in pose, without flinching, and Yamcha could launch that dude back into hell where he belonged. So, and then if you give them years of android training on top of that, and whatever else training they did, they're just far beyond planet level, and there's no way to argue against that. For Dragon Ball Super's sake, the thing is that Krillin did actually get back in shape for the World Martial Arts Tournament, meaning that he is in shape, meaning he is still a planet buster, especially if he's hoping to compete against Saiyans and, whatever. I'm sure he didn't think he was going to beat them, but Android 18 would at least make sure he was up to par with maybe somebody in the tournament. And Android 18 is, of course, as strong as the Super Saiyan, so of course he can destroy planets. And then you have Yamcha, and the thing about Yamcha is we don't know if he trained or not, but we could assume that even if he was rusty, he'd still be planetary, considering how far above planetary he actually was. Another thing is, if you take, Master Roshi, for instance, even when Master Roshi got rusty, he still didn't really lose a lot of power. He was still relatively just below King Piccolo and still above, say, Mercenary Tao and stuff. Even without training, he didn't lose a shit ton of power. So Yamcha would probably be a similar case. He'd still probably be relatively the same. He's at least stronger than he was in the Saiyan arc. That's just my headcanon. I mean, you feel free to disagree with that, but especially since the dude's going to be playing baseball against, Champa and the Universe 6 team, I'm assuming he's still at least decently powerful. Anyways, guys, I hope you learned something, hope you enjoyed, and till next time.